This anime is about a weird little control freak named Souichi. He's got some pretty disturbing powers he uses to torment his classmates. Souichi can be seen plying his dastardly trade out in the woods, nailing a doll to a tree. This is one of the many ways he curses people, and this curse is aimed at one of his classmates, Uya, who succumbs to it. Souichi also happens to be a self-absorbed maniac who thinks of himself as the most amazing and attractive person that could ever exist, although that's far from the truth. He's actually a little freak with no friends that creepily stares at his classmates. At home, he prepares the tools he uses to inflict his curses, like brutally boiling a live frog in hot water. In his room, he decides who the target of the next curse is gonna be, a hibernation curse that is. Souichi goes back into the woods and digs a small grave. He names a voodoo doll Kuroda after one of his classmates and places it inside the grave while wishing Kuroda a good sleep. A few days later, Kuroda's missing. His classmates ask each other when last they saw him, wondering if he met an unexpected end, while Souichi just laughs maniacally in the background. Meanwhile, this man, who appears to be the landowner of the forest Koichi frequents, finds a doll nailed to a tree and complains about seeing these a lot lately, wondering is this some kind of deranged prank? He stumbles upon the Kuroda doll halfway buried in the ground and pulls it out, then notices a head. After taking a closer look, he realizes that's the actual Kuroda buried neck down, just like the doll. The news quickly reaches his classmates, who confirm that Kuroda was sleeping in the dirt all this time, and finally he's woken up and he's been taken to the hospital. Souichi is annoyed by this news, as he apparently wanted Kuroda to sleep there through the winter till spring, cause he thought it would be funny. That's one twisted sense of humor. Next, Souichi begins to search for his next victim. He observes their conversation dynamics of the classmates around him and assumes that two friends, Ishizaka and Kawai, must secretly hate each other. Souichi later meets Ishizaka and tells him that he would help Ishizaka curse Kawai, completely based on his wrong assumptions about the hatred between them. But Ishizaka is just confused, cause he's not a little freak like Souichi. Meanwhile, the landowner from earlier angrily carries a large monster trap up the hill to where the dolls were found. Back home, Souichi decides to embark on the curse he promised, and this time it's going to involve spiders. In school the next day, during class, Souichi pokes a doll with a needle while looking at his target Kawai menacingly. This makes Kawai beg the teacher to let him use the bathroom, all according to plan. As soon as Kawai enters the bathroom, his stomach ache stops completely, but when he tries to leave, he realizes the door is locked. Souichi, the mastermind behind this plot, then places a fake giant spider on the doll. This makes a humongous spider appear right above Kawai's stall and completely cover him in webs. When Kawai's classmates find him, he's completely wrapped in tissue, probably traumatized. Souichi walks up to Ishizaka and asks if he's satisfied with the result. Of course, Souichi simply could not help himself but gloat and even requested payment. Ishizaka, annoyed, angrily confronts Souichi, which attracts the attention of another student, prompting the little coward to run and hide. There he decides to take his revenge on Ishizaka for being ungrateful and embarrassing him apparently. Later that evening, Ishizaka receives a call. Apparently he could win a free trip around the world and he should head to Sakurama Park alone right away. Fishy. Of course, Ishizaka immediately recognizes Souichi's voice, but he still goes to the park anyway, just to face the little devil. As he grows impatient, he notices a tall, strange stick figure doing a disturbing dance. Ishizaka immediately jumps off his seat and runs as he sees the figure drawing closer and closer to him, like any sane person would. It relentlessly chases Ishizaka down deeper into the woods, barreling closer and closer. Souichi can't hold back his laughter as we realize he's the one using the stilts to chase the boy. Just then, his stilts get trapped in one of the snares prepared by the landowner and forces the little punk to expose himself. The ever shameless Souichi instead accuses Ishizaka of setting the traps and calling him a coward. Ishizaka explains that the landowner actually set the traps and that Souichi is gonna be in a lot of trouble if he finds him. Ishizaka advises Souichi to escape before the old man comes because he can be pretty crazy. He then turns around and leaves Souichi there, alone. Souichi gets stuck in his costume as he tries to escape and he notices a flashlight pointed right at him. Alas, it was the crazy looking landowner holding an axe and walking towards him with intent. The landowner is so angry at Souichi that he tries to kill him and throws his axe, which just barely misses. Souichi screams for help, but this just makes the crazy landowner laugh, pointing out how pointless that is out here in the woods and that Souichi is gonna die there and then. Souichi continues to beg and scream, but the landowner demands retribution for the crops Souichi ruined, gallivanting all over his woods. And then the anticlimactic ending shows, where Souichi's elder brother somehow finds them in the woods, blackmails the landowner because, you know, he used monster traps to trap a human being, and then they both get to go home. Not what you'd hope, frankly. I wanted Souichi to get his comeuppance, but we don't always get what we want. After that, the episode kinda heads somewhere else, and we see someone in a castle whose daughter just randomly turns to wood. I don't know. If you can link the stories, be my guest. Check out some of my other videos though over here.